Roll call, please.
Stephanie Lambert. Bill Waltman.
Here.
Tim Copeland.
Here.
Steve Patterson. John Kramer. Here. Chris Hansen. Here. Larry Church.
Here.
Corey Crabtree.
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent approval. Move to approve. Second. Consent agenda. Roll call, please.
Bill Waltman.
Yes.
Tim Copeland.
Yes.
Steve Patterson.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Chris Hansen.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, we'll move on to the, are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the airport authority?
On the what now?
Airport authority.
No, not the airport.
With none, we'll move on to current business. Item 1, consideration and possible action to approve waiving the bidding process and authorizing the city manager to accept quotes for a new credit card reader and piping for the new fuel tank at the airport. A budgeted item to be funded from the Series 2006 bond proceeds.
How long have we needed this?
Quite a while. I think we're at
I'm
the
surprised it
critical
haven't been on
point.
our back about it. I move to approve. Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Bill Waltman.
Yes.
Tim Copeland.
Yes.
Steve Patterson.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Chris Hansen.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
We.
Oh, do we want to, so we have an executive session, no, sorry, elections, I'm looking at the wrong piece of paper. Okay, so those are the two. All right, elections and appointments, thank you. Consideration and possible action to approve the mayoral appointments of Dell Donahoe and Brett Van Meter to the Airport Advisory Board to fill the positions being vacated by Neil Craig and Brian Coates. I have spoken to both of these gentlemen. Dell obviously has been a past pilot. He's loved aviation ever since he was little. He would love to be able to give back in some form. And then Brett Van Meter, while he lives over in the Tecumseh area, he is an active pilot. He's a pilot for an airline. He does have a plane at the city airport. And so with that, I feel that is reason enough to be able to fill that position. And that's why I'm recommending both of these.
Are we taking one at a time?
Yes, we would take one at a time.
Which one is first?
So Dell Donahoe would be the first.
I move to approve.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. All right, second nominee would be Brett Van Meter.
Got to trust you on this one, I guess. I don't know who that is, so.
Well, either of them, I prefer that be a person who lives in the city or something.
Well, that's true. The problem is you don't have that many active flyers.
I
And so
understand.
if they don't know the airport or what's required, it makes it a little more difficult to fill that position.
I understand, it's still my preference.
Okay?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Okay. With that, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? None. With that, we'll move on to the Seminole Gas Authority. Roll call, please, Jay.
John Kramer.
Here.
Tim Copeland.
Here.
Steve Patterson.
Here.
Bill Waltman.
Here.
Corey Crabtree.
Here.
Stephanie Lambert. Larry Church.
Here.
Chris Hansen.
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Move its approval.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
John Kramer.
Oh,
Yes.
Tim Copeland.
Yes.
Steve Patterson.
Yes.
Bill Waltman.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Chris Hansen.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We have no items that have been removed from the consent agenda, so we'll see if you have, are there are any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Gas Authority. Okay, with none, we'll move on to, you want to go into?
No,
or
if
delay?
we can, we can do a joint one
Okay,
later, if that's all right with you.
All right.
We'll just recess.
okay. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to recess the regular gas
So moved.
meeting.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? With that, we'll move on to the Utilities Authority. Roll call, please, Jay.
Steve Patterson.
Here.
John Kramer.
Here.
Chris Anson.
Here.
Bill Waltman.
Here.
Corey Crabtree.
Here.
Tim Poplin.
Here.
Stephanie Lambert. Larry Church.
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Move its approval. Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Steve Patterson.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Bill Waltman.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, we move on to, are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Utilities Authority? Okay, with none, we'll move on to resolutions. Item 1, consideration and possible action to approve resolution number SUA 2019-01, a resolution amending the fiscal year 2018-19 budget, appropriating additional funds of $64,909.19 and transferring funds between departments.
Want to know what that is?
Yes.
Discussion, please. There must be a reason for this.
This is, when we did the budget last year, we did not take into account any raises because we did not know at that time what we were doing them, so we did them during the year. This is the amended budget, for the water and sewer raises, and then we'll have a separate amount on, the general fund when we get to that in the city council.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Dee Patterson,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Bill Waltman,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With that, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. We will move on to the Seminole City Council meeting. Roll call, please, Jay.
Chris Anson,
Here.
Dee Patterson,
Here.
Stephanie Lambert, Larry Church,
Here.
Tim Poplin.
Here.
Bill Waltman,
Here.
Corey Crabtree.
Here.
John Kramer.
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bill, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Isagadamisi Mishka Hangagigodai, Safakani Kuchit Imadogo Potalofa Seminole, Moment Poestia Morgan, Itinoki Chikinis, Momochimi Sacramisi Alagiskas. O God, whose mercies cannot be numbered, accept our prayer of thanks for the city of Seminole and for all our people. Let us love one another for you, God, our love. Amen.
Amen.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Bill Waltman,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, we'll move on to elections and appointments. Consideration and possible action to approve the mayoral appointments of Stephanie Lambert and Tim Poplin to the Rate Study Committee to serve alongside the mayor and Dee Dee Patterson, who are already committee members. The committee serves at the discretion of the mayor and may be convened to review utility and/or refuse rates.
Move to approve.
So we'll take those one, we have to take those one at a time as well, since it's committee? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Move to approve,
Stephanie.
Stephanie.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we'll move on to Tim Poplin.
Move to approve.
I'm not.
Read the manual.
I'll move to approve like that.
Read it in the manual.
Since nobody else was gonna do it.
I'll second both of those.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right.
You're in.
That's okay, I wanted to.
Next item, consideration and possible action to approve the mayoral appointment of Neil Craig to the Tourism Council.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. We'll move on to see if there are any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole City Council. Yes, if you'd please come up here and state your name and address.
Just right here?
Yes, is there a microphone?
There's not.
Okay, just
Sure,
right there.
I can talk loud. Hi, my name is Stephanie Davis. I'm at 431 North University. And I just want to convey a little issue that happened in my neighborhood a few weeks back. I missed the last city council meeting, or I would have brought it up then. But I purchased a vacant property in Ward 1. I have spent about $70,000 fixing it up, renovating it, all of that good stuff. Long story short, the next door neighbor is a vacant home. This home has been abandoned for the better part of 2 years. The owner is alive and well and living in Tulsa and neglecting the property here. I did bring some pictures with me if you guys are interested in looking at the state of the lawn that got to. I'm not exaggerating when I say it was up to here. There's a stop sign right at our corner that was literally covered up by the weeds, as well as a fire extinguisher. So that's my biggest concern. All of the homes on our street were at risk for, fire damage. And of course, our chief would tell you that having a fire extinguisher, hydrant, thank you, Larry, covered up, and especially by as overgrown weeds as it was, it's a fire hazard and a danger to everyone on our city. I did bring it up with code enforcement, and it sounds like the bottom line is he doesn't have appropriate funding to support the many properties that he has to work with, which is completely understandable. So I volunteered to take over the maintenance on the lawn of this house that has been abandoned and neglected next to me, because I do care about the safety and security of not just my family, but our entire block. But I would ask that maybe we come up with some sort of even community-assisted program if we don't have budget appropriations for it, to ensure that this kind of stuff doesn't happen. Because not just the fire hydrant, but we're talking noxious weeds, animals, people, unfortunately, getting into this house. And so if we're not gonna hold the landowner responsible for taking care of the property, the least we could do is make sure that my family and my street is safe despite his neglect. And I'm willing to volunteer and help coordinate any sort of committee or community action or any solution that you guys may have to make sure that this doesn't happen, not just in my ward, but across the city. Because this is a great place to live, and we love it here, and we're investing a ton of money in this community. And so I'm also willing to invest my time if needed.
What was the address of the landowner?
I do know the name.
And what is his name?
I-
And do you have an address for him?
Yes, 433, oh, in Tulsa? No, sir, I don't, but I do have a cell phone number.
Okay. Would you give that to the city attorney? And I would request that we take whatever action can be taken for this person. Personally, the Seminole idea of the whipping tree comes to mind.
Yeah, I hope his intentions are not to neglect, but nonetheless, the fire hydrant was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for me, in sort of the safety aspect of it. Despite the fact, I mean, I do want our neighborhood to look nice. It was once flourishing, and now it's not so much, and so I'm hoping I can regenerate some of the love in our neighborhood and beauty.
My name is Gail Rooms.
Please wait.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought she was finished.
I'm finished.
Okay.
I have a question
Unless
for her. You said he didn't have the resources. Were you talking about the code officer, or was you talking about the guy that owns the property?
The code enforcement officer said that he felt like he lacked some funds to be able to take care of apparently a growing problem that's going on in our town. And so, of course, I sympathized with him. I understand budgetary restrictions, and I also understand restrictions on raising taxes for citizens, considering we just did that for the school. That's why I volunteered to take care of the lawn for the rest of the summer at least. And so that we could work together to figure out a long-term solution. Because I know, even though the yard next to me was a neglect type of deal, this guy has resources to figure it out. He's just being neglectful. But that's not the case for a lot of overgrown yards here, and so I can sympathize with why there are some overgrown yards, and I really just wanna help with that.
Do you think you could come up with another $70,000 and buy that one and do your thing there too?
So, actually, we have talked about that several times. In fact, my husband does financial analysis, so he actually did a reverse amortization schedule, and from what the guy paid for it through public records. And he owes about $50,000 on it, and it's worth about $7, if that, unfortunately, because he's let it rot so much. Animals have been in there, displaced human beings have been in there. And, I mean, I would love to buy it to ensure that nobody else lived there, and because I own the vacant lot behind me too, so I'd own the whole block and rule my block. But it's just not
I'm
financially
sure your
worth it.
councilman will follow up on your problem.
He's been working really hard with me, actually, and we've been trying to come up with a solution that doesn't put a financial burden on the city, because that's not what we're looking to do either.
Thank you for coming.
In fact, I have offered to help with the mowing and the maintenance on that. I have a crew of folks who do that for me. And as a matter of fact, not long ago, we mowed the park that's there in the house. Was at a university and college. They really liked that park, and it was getting a little shaggy, but sent some guys over to mow it, and then now the city has been back in to mow it since. But if there are people, especially on Ward 1, that can't afford or are unable to, for some reason, to maintain their lawns, I'll assist with that. And the chief has asked me through his inspector to do that in the past, and I have. Glad to do it where it's affordable for me to do it.
Agreed. I got a quote on the yard at the current height, and it was about $400, so I just got out there with my my utensils.
There's one other property on that street, or not, no, it's over on Jefferson. That's, on my side of Jefferson, not yours, that has weeds about that high. You can hardly see the house and stuff. And I haven't gotten around to inquiring about the ownership or anything of that, or what would be the negative impact if any if I sent a crew over to trim that back. So we can't even see the number on the house from the trees, so I don't know how long that one's been neglected. But overall, I think the weeds and grass in the city of Seminole have improved tremendously since we began to increase the fines and increase the enforcement and the inspections through Chief Hanson's effort. And I like to say that when we first did that, Chief Hanson was the first person to say there's a lot of people maybe that can't afford to maintain their lawns, or they can't do it physically, and do we have any kind of relief for them? And that's when I offered to assist. But it's Chief Hanson's idea.
Just one other quick anecdotal example. We had a neighbor 2 doors down who has put their house on the market 4 different times in the last 5 years and has never sold. We moved in, reconstructed this house, remodeled it, and got the yard at the corner pretty good and cleaned up quite a bit, and they just sold their house. So, I mean, I'm not saying there's causation there, but certainly correlation, and, you know, we're certainly new to the area, and I think that we're kind of the perfect market for Seminole young, you know, progressive couples that want to be here to help the community. So, thanks for your time, and I'll be happy to help anyway.
What was the address of the property?
So it's 433. Mine's 431. So I'm the Lighthouse. It's the brick. It's at the corner of Seminole Avenue and University.
And you will give that information?
Yes, sir.
to the
100%.
city clerk.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Stephanie,
get with me afterwards,
Yes,
show
sir.
me your pictures and stuff, and we'll talk about it.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Gail Rooms. I live at 1750 Dobby Street. That is the south end of Dobby. On the north end of Dobby, there is a 10-acre pasture between us. I have pictures. I'd like for everyone here to see them. I've lived there for 18 years. My house is worth $140,000. And this pasture has not been mowed in 5 years, maybe 6. It used to have baled of hay off of it, but Jim Glasgow died and they sold it, and it's not been mowed since. I have done everything in my power to get it done. I have talked to James, I don't know how many times. I can't catch him, he won't call me. I went down to the police station and got him, he did come out. The guy runs Parks. Do y'all know who Parks is? He owns Blue Wave. He owns this 10 acres. He does have the money to have it brush hogged. Rita, show him them pictures. He come up there and run,
I would
he
ask,
run a fence north and south, like where imaginary road would be, and brush hog one strip and put a fence up, a gate on each end because they were dumping on the north end of it. But he didn't brush hog any of it. It butts right up to my property. I'm getting a dry mouth because this is very upsetting to me. When I had a house burned down in Seminole with no insurance, I called Terry Gray. He was the inspector. He was going to help me get 3 bids. This was like February. He comes up sick, I get a broke back, and I got a warrant for my arrest because that house has not been tore down. I had to go to court 3 times, and I paid $7,000 to get that house tore up, took away, and then I gave the lot away because y'all passed a rule where you gotta have 65 feet frontage. I like 400 square feet, having enough. I had a corner lot, and I gave it away. I've had 25 rent houses in this house, in this town, and I have cut trees out of alleys. I have done everything that y'all tell me to do. I don't understand why this park can get away with not brush hogging that land. I'd give anything for a drink of water.
there's some-
There's some over there.
I'm so sorry, it upsets me. I mean, my whole life was invested in my house. And there's mice and snakes and allergies that are just terrible.
Here you go. Behind you.
Thank you, Chief Hanson.
You do remember me, right?
I remember you well. I'm trying to figure out if this is zoned agricultural. or
It is
zoned-
not, it's zoned R3, it was supposed to be R1. But I found out he's threatening to build apartment houses, which the water runs down that hill like crazy. The Indians own that up there behind the health department. They don't even bale hay anymore. They've never cleaned the road. I mean, you come down my road, it looks like you're out in the boonies. And the trees fall on the road, I have to pick them up.
So one of the things that I think probably we should check on is, one, what's it zoned? If it doesn't meet the criteria of what we have set for
I've already
the
checked,
zone
I'm telling
requirement,
you.
then we need to have our
And the worst thing, when he spit in my face, he come out there last day or two and did about 20 feet. That's what I wanted to show you. About 20 feet. It was just like a smack in the face. So does he not have to mow? Does he not have to maintain it?
Well, that's what I'm suggesting. We have our code enforcement officers check on that, make sure the zoning is correct. And then we need to look at it, and if it's not meeting the requirements, then there needs to be an action taken.
Well, take my word for it, I know what it's on, and you don't wanna see the picture?
Please show them.
I'll be
please
glad
show
to
them
look at the
yeah.
picture, ma'am. The code enforcement works for me, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, but it's very upsetting to me. I have really tried hard to do all the rules, all the laws. I took care of all my rent houses. My renters went to jail because they didn't mow. This lady on Union, our university, I don't understand why you don't just tax him. Put a lien against his property. I mean, I don't understand that.
Thank you. Are there any other? Okay,
I don't think I followed that.
all right, we'll move on to approvals and acceptances.
James came out.
Bids, item 1, consideration and possible action to approve the purchase of a 2019 half-ton pickup from Seminole Ford in the amount of $29,495, which is below the state bid price. This is a budgeted item to be funded from the Series 2010 bond proceeds.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Chris Edson,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Tim Conklin.
Yes.
Bill Waltman.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 2, consideration and possible action to approve the purchase of a 2019 half-ton pickup from the Seminole Ford in the amount of $25,867, which is below the state bid price. This is a budgeted item to be funded from the Series 2010 bonds proceeds.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Chris Edson,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Tim Conklin.
Yes.
Bill Waltman.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 3, consideration and possible action to approve the purchase of a 2009 BMW motorcycle in the amount of $4,100 from the Seminole Nation to be funded from the Police Impound Fund.
Mayor, could we come back to this one? I've asked the police chief to give a quick
Okay.
deal.
All right, we'll come back to
Great.
item 3. We'll move on to resolutions. Item 4, consideration and possible action to approve resolution number 2019-08, a resolution amending the fiscal year 2018-19 budget, appropriating additional funds of $254,599.38 and transferring funds between departments.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Edson,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Tim Conklin.
Yes.
Bill Waltman.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Do we want to delay this one as well? I don't know if he's gonna be involved with item 5. Okay, we'll move back to item 3. Consideration and possible action to approve the purchase of a 2009 BMW motorcycle in the amount of $4,100 from Seminole Nation to be funded from the Police Impound Fund.
So we've had really good success with our mobile police officer on the motorcycle. So far, things have operated safely. I did ask Chief if he could give a quick update on what happened in the first few weeks of the operation and anything else that he wanted to add to the motorcycle situation.
Okay, motorcycle so far has been part-time. Lieutenant Burnett's been working both patrol and motorcycle. He rode a total of, I think it was roughly 95 contacts. 54 of those were tickets, 42, 43, whatever the number was warnings, so he's writing a proportionate amount of warnings to tickets. He's not just out there trying to ticket everybody he can find like I see on Facebook. Okay. Part of what he's doing is he's setting it at intersections like our Brahms intersection, Wrangler and Highway 99, and just sitting there, which is having a great effect. People are seeing him, they're posting it on Facebook once again. It's having a wonderful effect of getting people not to blow those stoplights. He's doing the same thing at Broadway and Mount Phillips. I mean, it's really having a great effect. He's been working the school zones. He worked last Friday and this Monday in the school zones. Had him come out Monday, it's the day off, but we had him out Monday. So where we can't get into the school zones, everybody in this room knows how busy the school zones are. He's out working those right now. And we just can't work them without the motorcycles. So they're just doing a wonderful job, and we're getting stuff done we've never been able to do before.
You missed the best part.
Which part did I miss, sir?
2 tickets were,
Oh, okay. First time ever that I know of in Seminole history, we wrote 2 Jake break tickets. Because he was setting up on 377. I know most of you guys have talked to me about Jake breaks, getting complaints about Jake breaks. And he wrote 2 Jake break tickets. Out of those 50 some odd tickets, he wrote tickets for 2 Jake breaks.
My aunt will love to hear that.
So,
and you might let him know the pot is growing for this first litter ticket. We've got several contributions for the first litter ticket. Mike, are you in for that? So
what are we talking about here?
we want to see a litter ticket.
Oh, you wanna see a litter ticket?
Yes.
Okay.
And the car's working too.
Yeah, we've been putting the
Yes.
car out every morning. There, lieutenants are required.
We're gonna buy you a dummy, put in.
Well, but you
Never mind,
Hey.
never mind. Let her go there, Jason.
You say firefighter. You did better not.
That's on the curb at Boris.
Brian's gonna hang out there for
Hey, they
lunch.
got 2 of them on every day anyways, it's all right.
But you need to paint that car all black like the real police cars.
Well, we're still using the Crown Vics.
Yeah.
They're still in service, so they're still working.
Mayor, I have a quick statement. Sure. I've had some good feedback about the motorcycle. You know, we had some problems with, you know, the danger of it and all that, but the public that I've talked to, they think it's cool. They think, you know, Oklahoma City can have one, why can't we have one, you know? And they understand that he can get to places that cars can't get, quicker response, and if somebody cuts through an alley, Burnett's going through an alley, you know?
Well, there's
But
plenty
it's
of,
good feedback.
there's plenty of places, perfect example is Broadway and Mount Phillips. There's really no good place there for a police car to park. Well, he can park, there's the little, I wanna call them ramps coming off of the curb, where you know, he can just sit up there almost on the sidewalk and just come right off of that ramp when he sees somebody blow a stoplight, where it's much more dangerous to put a truck there in Tahoe, because you're all of a sudden now you're whipping through a parking lot and having to navigate through a parking lot, through traffic, good luck catching them. They're a quarter mile down the road by the time you get on the road trying to catch them. With these motorcycles, man, he's on them.
I will say that I'm his only true friend here.
Appreciate you, Larry.
Because it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. He gets a giant case of concrete rash off his motorcycle.
We have that pot going too.
They're just-
Hey, we don't need your help, okay?
Poor guy.
Larry will be a
So-
part of that one.
So
So,
I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but, you know, but I've taken care of too many people who crashed on motorcycles in the emergency rooms and so forth. I have some now that are my clients that are still crippled from it, brain damage. Motorcycles are dangerous. I don't need to say anymore, except 25,000 miles, that's about what you get before you have a crack up on a motorcycle. So keep him on a short leash. Don't let him drive very far, because time he wears out that first set of tires, he can expect to crash. So I vote no ahead.
Well, I'm still waiting for a motion.
Move forward.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second it.
All right, roll call, please, Jay. Thank
Chris
you.
Hansen,
Yes.
Patterson,
Yes.
Larry Church,
No.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Bill Wantland,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
John Franklin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Moving on to current business, item 5, discussion and possible action to approve redirecting $50,000 within the fire and police department CIP budgets for radio communication upgrades to be performed by Muskogee Communications in lieu of replacing the current system with 700 megahertz radios, a budgeted cost of $68,000. So, no, go ahead.
Oh, I should say Muskogee, that's my, old hometown, sort of. Of a man of two cities, Fort Gibson claims I'm from Muskogee, and Muskogee claims I'm from Fort
Yeah,
Gibson.
we talked to them, they've never heard of you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They denied ever.
So they're following me around.
They all tell us we're
Yeah.
stuck with you, Larry.
Are you sure the police force is not behind it?
So I have a question on, the first part would be, why 700 megahertz, and then what's the upgrade gonna be?
You wanna hit this?
Okay. We had kind of looked at changing our system from what we have now, a digital radio system that we've had for the last 10 years. We started having issues with it. 700 was something that was being talked about in Seminole County. It's on the move from Midwest City to our way. Chief Hansen had wound up getting some money through you guys through CIP. We kind of sat down and talked that we needed to fix our current system we have now. If we have a natural disaster that comes through, we've got to have something that we can all talk on, whether it's Public Works, PD, police, it doesn't matter. We've got to fix our current system, and that's got to be a standalone system. So I twisted Chief Hansen's arm, and he's agreed to allow us to use that money to upgrade our current system. We are in the process now of doing a grant through Homeland Security. It may be a year, it may be a year and a half later down the road, but we'll look at doing a 700 to go on top of the current system we have now.
The benefit of 700 is?
The benefit of 700 is mass casualty if we go mutual aid with Homeland Security. As you've seen in the past, when we get called out by Homeland Security to go to Moore, PD goes with us, vice versa. We've got communication with anybody that shows up from the state of Oklahoma. We don't have to beg, plead, and borrow radios when we get to those scenes. We have communication with everybody. That's always been an issue that we've had in the past, just like 2 years ago when we went to Houston. That was an issue we had, was communication. That's the reason why we're kind of looking at eventually getting to that 700 frequency.
So,
Or 700
but isn't
megahertz.
that that's kind of a tougher frequency to transmit distance?
It is, that's why we've kind of cooled our heels on going to 700 now. Let's fix the system we've got. Let's let everybody else jump on it, iron out the bugs, and then we'll learn from their mistakes instead of us being the ones everybody's learning from. We don't want to recreate the wheel, let somebody else do it.
So,
Our current system that we have now, we're upgrading the repeaters. I know we put in there 50,000, I got the quote yesterday. We're roughly about 41,000. So what happens is we're going to split the current system that we have. Everything that we have now is on the tower behind the PD, FD, 911 on the water tower. We're gonna split that, and we're gonna put PD on the water tower behind Bar S. FD stays where it is now. It creates a little redundancy. If we have something that comes through and a lightning storm takes out one tower, we still have the ability to speak off of another one instead of everything being dead at one time. We've had that happen in the past, and we've had to scramble. We're upgrading the repeaters from a 50 watt to a 100 watt, all new cable, all new antennas. Everything that we've talked to from Muskogee Communication, these guys are at the forefront of our digital radio system. We should be able to talk from the other side of Shawnee.
So is our problem currently the fact
Right.
that we lose communication?
Yes,
or you
right now, we have areas within our city, a half mile from dispatch, that we cannot talk to each other. Chief Hansen's officers can't talk to each other, they can't talk back to 911, and the same thing with my guys. So there are times that we're going on 911 calls now, and it's just a dead call. We have no communication with either my guys or his. That's what we want to try to fix immediately, get the system up and running. We don't have to change our radios, we're just changing the base operation of it, we're upgrading it.
so we called in Muskogee. Muskogee came and evaluated what we had. And they're the ones that found the deficiencies on the repeaters, and the dead spots are gonna be fixed, and this is gonna be a solve all.
If I may, we're in a position right now to where if I go to 700s and great, everything's wonderful for the police department, we still have a fire department that if they get out on a call and somebody starts shooting at them and they get on their handhelds and say, help, their handhelds don't get out. They get no help. So we can fix our problem with this $67,000. They're still in a bind with nothing. So this fixes both of our
Bottom line
problems.
is you're being a team player.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Baker, that was smart. The deal was that everything that he saved out of the radio budget went to buy his bunker gear, so.
Whoa, slow down.
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that.
We never talked about that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, you got a motorcycle,
Yeah.
Chief.
Yeah, and a BMW.
If Baker comes in with a bullet wound to the knee, I don't know how it happened.
That's two BMWs.
Yeah, got two
Yeah, you got
motorcycles.
two BMWs now.
Stay out of this.
He wanted Harleys.
Thank you, Tim.
Can we do something like this?
I don't
without
blame
going
you on
out
that
for
one.
bid first?
Well, this is almost a sole source, but I would classify it as a professional service. Professional services agreements don't necessarily follow upon the Competitive Bid Act like a normal capital improvement would.
Because we're not going out to buy a whole series of radios and re-equipping our,
What was the question? Did it need to be bidded? Is that what your
Yeah.
question was? I didn't hear it, I'm sorry. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
roll call, please, Jay.
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Tim Poplin.
Yes?
Bill Wantland,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 6, consideration and possible action to approve accepting a $5,000 reimbursement grant from the Department of Homeland Security for the purchase of non-standard issue equipment for the police department.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Bill Wantland,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
John Kramer. Motion passes.
With that, you want to move on to reports before we go to the
Yes,
executive
sir.
session? Okay. So, I think everybody has probably, have seen all the pictures, all the watch for buses, kids are back in session. I don't think you can say it enough though, because you still see people that drive around a school bus with the lights clearly flashing red and the stop sign out. And it's just, I can't believe that people do that, but they do. So I want to take the time to remind everybody, school's in session, watch your speed, watch for students, because a piece of paper may blow out of their book, fly under the bus, and they're gonna go after it. And if people are driving around the school bus, bad things can happen, and nobody wants that. Just make sure you know the law, because it's different if you're on a divided highway versus a highway with a center turn lane. Those are different rules and different applications. And I believe you can lose your driver's license if you're caught driving around a school bus with its lights flashing. So,
It's an
that's
automatic
something-
driver's license suspension.
Yeah, that's something to be aware of. Not to mention, the worst thing that can happen is a student gets hit and injured, or even worse. We also have a location out on Strothers by the American Legion building. Taos is gonna be starting their school, so you need to watch in that area as well. I know there's some work being done to look at placing school signs there as well. There's still some work to be done on that, but everyone needs to watch out for that area as well. That is a new location. A lot of volunteers helped with the Taos school, getting it ready. That was a community effort, along with the students and parents that are going to school there helped out, and that's great to see. Schools really can't survive, just like cities can't survive without volunteers. And it's great that we have volunteers that are willing to help. I was able to take a tour of the Seminole High School last week, or this past week, and along with Chris and Steve, and it is amazing. I walked in, I was just amazed at the size of the classrooms, and I'm just trying to imagine what it's gonna look like, and I still can't put it together, but it's impressive. I was thrilled, and the students will be thrilled, and I think parents will be thrilled. It is something great, and if they have an open house, I would encourage everyone to attend. And it's something that's impressive that's going on. That's really all I have. So with that, I'll move on to the city manager.
Okay, ditto on the new high school. It's gonna be a wow, big one. I want to first say congratulations to Mike and his guys for all that is going on right now. They're trying to keep everything mowed in an exceptionally wet year. And, oh, by the way, let's try to help put in the new academy while we're doing all this. And his guys rallied like unbelievably well, and I'm really proud of you and the way that your guys respond to you. It's pretty cool to watch all that teamwork. Congratulations. Along those lines, we've got a new four-way stop sign at the corner of Reed and Coolidge. If you get a chance, go by there this evening. It's lit up like a Christmas decoration. After Mike thought through it, we decided that we didn't want to risk having the kids come from the Northwood School or any other school and try to get to the bridge at the First Baptist Church and have just a stop sign there. So we did order the solar signs, and that's the one that does the flashing. And so that's going to be much more evident to the driving public and certainly make our kids much safer as they try to cross that area. So the plan is to leave that in place for some time. Eventually, when people get used to it, we'll probably scale that and move those somewhere that needs more help. But right now, we're going to leave them at Reed and Coolidge and hopefully make that a lot safer. The audit is underway. Jay and Bob Dillon are working through the audit. It's always a great time of year. It's like Christmas for Jay. Not really. Yeah. I got to visit with Bob a little bit this afternoon. He expects to have an exit interview maybe tomorrow afternoon, possibly Thursday. But he's got some things that he wants to talk about, as his job as an auditor is to give me and Jay pointers on things that need to be improved. But there were certainly no major deficiencies thus far into the audit. So that's great news. Another fantastic job by Jay. I want to visit with you, and I'm going to apologize in advance for not having the school zone for the Academy of Seminole on your agenda. We've ordered the signs. Are they in yet, Mike? Are they almost here? Any day?
Tomorrow morning.
They're what?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. I think it would behoove us to go ahead and install those signs, and if you want to have a special meeting, we can. I don't want you to vote on it tonight. It's not on the agenda. But I think we need to go ahead and put up the school zone signs. I'm going to direct Mike to go ahead and do that, and I'll take the chewing that I deserve later. But we'll get it on an agenda for you guys to officially approve just as soon as you care to have a meeting. I want to give you a quick update on the swimming pool. The swimming pool is it's moving, but moving very slowly. So we have identified the areas that have voids under the pool. We've made good attempts at trying to identify all those. We know where they are. We know how deep they are. They are not 30-foot chasms, as we had feared was the worst case, but they are substantial. And what we're working with Gary Kinder, who is our civil engineer, is to find a structural engineer that will evaluate, propose the construction, and stamp the construction as safe. So what we've asked him to do is find a structural engineer that will stamp it and tell us the duration that he feels, or he or she feels, will last. I think that's something that the council will want to know. If we go spend $1.7 million trying to repair the pool, is that going to last us 4 years or 50 years? So right now, I think there's a little difficulty in finding that structural engineer that will actually lend their stamp to a plan that will say, yes, this 80-year-old concrete is going to last another X many years and after we repair underneath it. So I won't say we're stalled, but we're at a very close to being stalled until we see a structural engineer that's gonna give us the go. Did you find one? You got him? Friday? You're gonna talk to him Friday?
He's gonna be here Friday.
Okay. So we've got a structural engineer that we possibly might be working with. We're gonna interview him on Friday and maybe go from there. Let's go to, okay, so Broadway and Bourne. We've got a letter from ODOT on the improvement on Broadway. You guys will recall that I reported that the Broadway project for the bricks could not be done until probably 2020 sometime. And I added the caveat that although ODOT enjoys embarrassing me, so don't take any of that, don't write it down. So they sent me this letter and said, hey, we're gonna start next week, and it looks like it's gonna be done by October the 1st. Glad I added the caveat, because they are going to start soon. We're going to have the pre-construction meeting coming up, I believe on Thursday, and we're gonna know a lot more after that. But the good news, or more good news, is that Silver Star, who we're very familiar with, won the contract, and they'll be doing the job. It looks like they're gonna be doing it in 2 phases. The first phase will be roughly from First United to the bus station. So all the bricks in between the bus station and First United, those will go first. It sounds like that can be done in about 5 weeks. So it's gonna be pretty rapid. And the plan will be to have this meeting on Thursday, kind of get a familiarization with what are we doing exactly, what's the plan, and then likely we'll have a public meeting where we can invite the store owners down there so that they can know what to expect and get them briefed up before the work actually kicks off. But we get complaints all the time about the roughness of the road down there. So the good news is we're going to deal with it sooner than 2020. The bad news is it's going to be torn up for a little while we get it improved. Let's go to,
Are they doing both sides at the same time, or are they gonna let you go by on, what's the plan?
that we'll know
Is that
more
what
after the,
you're trying to do?
yep, we'll know more after the construction meeting. Obviously, if we close both sides, it goes faster, but, well, that's awfully hard to do. Yeah, it's awfully hard to do. You know, you could probably do it 1 block at a time and get away with it, but closing all the roughly 5 blocks, it'll be really difficult. But we'll know more, and I'll try to send you out an email or something to the effect when we get it. Let's look at, man, I see a lot of good improvement downtown. The Hardin Building, we've got it scheduled for a final, when is it, Thursday as well?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. So the final on the Hardin Building, if you're not familiar with that, that's the brand new building across the street from catty corner from City Hall. So that thing looks fantastic. They love to give tours through it. If you're up for it, we'd love to show you through it. It looks great. So we're excited to see that come online. And the Aero Building that Urban Renewal refurbished down by the old train depot is looking better all the time. Someday, we're gonna talk Brad into convincing his wife that it needs to be painted. But there is a little argument in the family. She kinda likes the rustic look. Brad likes it clean and tight, just the Army way. So I'm gonna stay out of that issue.
So we're going rustic then.
Yeah. Okay, so, just for your information, we have finished the interviews for both our social media person and the GIS mapping individual, technology individual. Those offers, I think, are being extended now, and next month we'll have them to introduce to the city council, we hope. Welcome again, Jerry. If you don't know Jerry Bortz, she's our new editor at the Seminole Producer. And Lee Randall is about to open a new business in town. How far? 3 weeks?
Yes.
Less than a month.
Yes.
And now, rumor I've heard is that the name is going to be the Council Coffee House. Is that the city council house or something? Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna put you on the spot.
Is it free coffee?
Well, one free coffee.
Black and free, cream and sugar.
So I got to attend the governor's economic development summit this week, and man, they are cooking. I'm really excited about what's happening in Oklahoma. They're seriously, sometimes I think we hear enough rhetoric from our folks that you don't really know what to believe. And when he says his plan is to take Oklahoma to a top 10 state, I was like everybody else. But after this week, there is a real plan, and it is being put into place, and it is being funded. And I'm really, really excited, and I plan on helping you guys put Seminole at the front of that so that we can enjoy the riches that I think are going to become Oklahoma. So let's see what else I've got here. Mayor, I believe that's all I've got.
Okay. I have,
You want to talk about the roundabout?
No, you do.
So, we're ready. We're waiting on Silver Star to give us the approximate amount of what it's going to cost for the new roundabout. I would expect in the next couple of weeks we'll have that amount. Technically, we've got a contract with Silver Star already, and they can do that under our contract. But I think just to be of good form, I think I would like to have another meeting with you guys and formally approve that amount, even though you've put a budget in for the roundabout and we already have a contract in place for them to do road work. I think something of that significance really needs a council action, so we may ask for a special meeting to approve the roundabout and the TAUS, the Academy of Seminole School Zone. So stand by, we'll be asking you guys for a special meeting more than likely.
okay. I just added a thing while you were talking. So you were speaking of mowing. As we were coming from a meeting earlier about 6 o'clock, there was someone out at the cemetery mowing. I mean, they're trying to stay caught up, and the grass has just exploded. Everybody knows what that rain we had, so they're working hard to try to get it mowed down. I have a question on the bridge on East 270. I mean, is it me, or has it just come to a complete halt over the last? I mean, I know it's ODOT, but am I just missing something, or is it just?
I think there's a little conflict between the subcontractor and ODOT.
I mean, whoever was running it unfortunately hit it at the wrong time with all the rains we had.
Yeah, you have to feel sorry for them.
Yeah.
But they have started back.
They were working today.
Okay,
They've
okay,
got the floors poured,
the last several days.
okay, good.
the floor's been poured, the wing walls are getting formed up now, probably will be poured by the end of the week.
It just seemed like it's set for months. Okay, That's probably a little frustration there for Mike, but
All
couldn't
of
tell
us.
it from his face.
All
but
of
I'm
us,
just
yeah.
thinking. Trucks on Bourne, I'm seeing some 18-wheelers going down Bourne that don't look like they're stopping anywhere, getting to Broadway, and the Main Street, Broadway and Milt Phillips and heading south. So, one question I had that kind of flows into that is what's gonna keep them from going all the way down Broadway, hitting Ideal, going all the way down to Bourne and going on out? I mean, they do bypass some of it where the roundabout is,
Mhm.
but they could go around that route and take it, which will mean, even
Yeah.
though Ideal was probably built for that a little more, but
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll start tearing it up.
Motorcycle.
So, yeah, we're still gonna have it posted there. I mean, we're gonna have it signed up that it's not a truck route.
Yeah.
The main deterrent is time. The
Mhm.
assumption is the reason they're using that is to save time. Obviously, when they start hitting stop signs on Ideal and Strother, they're not gonna be saving time by trying to divert. Other than that, we'll just have to police and mark the truck routes, and I do agree, I've seen some 18-wheelers on there.
I mean, this
Not
one,
much we can do right now.
I know you had to see the sign, cause I was right. in
Oh,
front of
yeah,
it.
oh, yeah.
We are writing tickets for it too.
Good.
They are less than what they were though.
Yeah, oh, they're definitely less than that.
My office is on that, and it's down 95%.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
promise you. Yeah, you still get a gate every once in a while, but. there's no
Majority that
comparison.
we stop on, if you don't mind, majority that we stop on there, because I stop a few a week myself, majority we stop are trucks that have a stop on that
Yeah.
road somewhere.
A lot of times you think they're going, but they're going to Blue Wave.
They're
A lot
going
of
to Blue
times.
Wave, Custom
Yeah, they're
Codes.
going to,
Custom
know.
coding somewhere.
But I
Yeah.
followed some that did not go anywhere.
Yeah, we-
To
we
either
get
to
a few.
college or to,
Yeah, we do get a few,
Yeah.
and we're writing them
yeah,
tickets.
okay. good.
We did the final inspection today on Bourne Boulevard with ODOT. So after the deficiencies that we found are corrected by Overland Construction, the company that overlaid it, within probably 3 to 4 weeks, they'll be coming back to the city asking us to go ahead and accept that road. So maybe within 3 to 4 weeks.
Did you find some thin spots on it?
We found some spots, some driveways, some ripples, some drainage, some cleanup.
Okay, thank you. City attorney?
So I wanted to address the issue about the tall weeds and grass and the dilapidated structures and things, because I think that sometimes we forget, and a lot of people don't know, that the last time I looked, and Chief, you probably have a better count than I do, but at one time, about 2 years ago, we were at 74 or 78 homes that were put on the list to demolish our structures. And I know that list is over 100. We take those structures down, and Steve's probably better equipped to talk about the numbers and the amount of money, but we have, I think last month we did maybe, I don't know, 6 abatement hearings.
We did one, that we had 5 abatements in one.
Yeah,
hearing.
in one day. And these were civil abatements where we noticed the property owners, they come in, and this is outside of city court. So you kinda have to get creative, take different approaches with different people. Because you can't just send a ticket to somebody that doesn't live around, or, live around here, it's deceased, you can't find them or whatever. So we have to go a different route to address that particular, structure. So I think we did, like the chief said, about 5 in one day last maybe 3 weeks ago or more. I've got the docket here for tomorrow. We've got 29 cases to try tomorrow. 17 of those are tall weeds and grass and maintaining dangerous structures. So those will all occur tomorrow, and this is actually a small docket. So 17 of those will go before the judge tomorrow. And as far as Ms. Broom's complaint, I don't particularly know where this piece of property is, but I can tell you that we have several places that are in city limits that are zoned agricultural. Those are not required to be mowed below the 12 inch. They don't have to be mowed at all. So it's very likely that big area over there very well could be agricultural. If it's been baled previously, she probably was used to it, didn't really have an issue, I don't know, but I know the chief will look into it. So that's I suspect that may be what it is. But from time to time, you'll run into these situations like this, and we just have to deal with it on a case-by-case basis. But I can tell you this, Mr. Moon and Ms. Churchwell write tickets like they're going out of style. I mean, I don't know how many ticket books they're burning through, but I'm telling you, I'm signing them daily, stacks of them. So I know they're doing their job, and I mean, kudos to them. But to take those structures down, you're looking, I've seen them, you probably can tell me cheap, but $3,500 is the cheapest that I've seen one, and I've seen them go up to $20,000
They run about 7,000 or 8,000 is what I
a
found.
piece. So when you're allocating $100,000, which we're not, but I don't think, but I mean, you're not even taking down 10 structures a month or a year. So we don't have the money for it. So we have to take these other avenues to get it down. And we do that. We assess those property owners all the time. So I just want the council to know that. And I can give you specifics, but it's, anyway, that's all I have.
Thank you. Ward 1, Bill Long.
The only thing I would say is thanks again to all of our people who do such a fantastic job here for the city of Seminole. And the only other thing I would say is, on the question of grass and weeds, there really ought to be a serious consideration of returning to the Seminole Nation law on the whipping tree. That does have a very deterring effect. And the trees still in front of the courthouse.
Ward 1, Larry Church.
The caning, is that what it is?
A little bit more than that.
Well, I can't add much to what has been said about the teamwork of our city government. It's excellent. We've got the best public works department that I know of. And I would like to remind folks that school starts back up, that a large number of those kids going to school are coming from single-parent households. The obstacles that a single mother has to overcome to educate her children, feed them, clothe them, house them, is just unimaginable. And looking at statistics, I'll bring some for you sometime. A spreadsheet about this long now. But give some consideration to that. I understand that our college is setting up their own food bank for college students because, I don't know, is it 1 in 5 or 2 in 5 or something like that is hungry most of the time because they can't afford food. They're looking at ways to do that so it's not an embarrassment for students, but I can say from my own experience that when my pants got so big I couldn't hardly hold them up, that was the time that I quit school and went back to work for a while. College students suffer, along with the children of single parents. So just keep that in mind, women, girls, women, and children. Needs to be in our minds and our focus. And motorcycles are dangerous. So we don't want to buy them any motorcycles. Thank you.
Ward 2, John Craig. Ward 3, Corey Crafty.
Just one thing to add, if you guys remember the charter school, if you think about it, well, people don't think about it. There's 308, 315 kids enrolled, plus 25 staff, and there are no buses. So there's gonna be a lot of cars travel through there. So you gotta get that many cars through that line every day. So it's gonna be a pretty busy little intersection there for a while, so.
What time do they drop off, Corey?
They start open at 7:30 to 7:45, so, but they start at 8, so by 8 it should be done for the most part.
What time do they get out at?
3:30. So it's gonna be a pretty busy little place down there. So, and I will vouch for the mowing. I walk the cemetery every single morning, and they have been keeping that mowed, and it looks good, so. And that's a lot of mowing too.
Yes, and we.
Yeah. It's half a mile around, buddy.
It's a quiet place.
I won't bother you.
Ward 3, Tim
Promise
Hortons.
you.
I really don't have anything, but I did think of a question. Is the high school still on for the opening, or you think they're gonna be behind that? Whoever can answer that question, because I've had that asked 2 or 3 people, if they're gonna make the opening day.
All I can tell him is what I've heard. I mean,
Okay.
that's very
So-
unofficial.
That's fair.
In our opinion, and I'm talking about the people that are doing the inspections, I think they believe that December 15th-ish is achievable, but it has to go perfect. So as long as everything lines up and it runs smoothly, I think there's a great chance that we're gonna be in there for the second semester.
If it runs behind that, they won't intervene in the middle of a semester or not to get in there? You don't know that?
That's not our call.
I just was asked that.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the answer I was looking for.
Ward 4, Chris Hansen.
Everything's been taken,
All right.
but I will make one notation. You guys talk a whole lot more with Jeff as mayor than you did as Shane.
Well, we have to work to get a weekend.
I encourage that.
Just kidding.
Be home for something?
Ward 4, Dee Dee Patterson.
I've got 2 things, and both of them, I guess, directed to Mike. Spraying, what's our schedule on spraying for mosquitoes? We're gonna pass it off.
Before the end of the month,
Okay,
sometime in the next 2 weeks.
I've had several calls, we're having quite a few large ones. Ward 4. Also, Mike, on the west side of the cemetery, have we come up with any suggestions or what we're gonna do as far as fencing?
The same company that came down and did the fence on the south side is gonna be here Thursday at 10 a.m. to give me a cost on the west side for the same type of fence that's on the front, on the south
And
side.
that will start,
Well, they're gonna come next week, and then give me a rough idea of what it's gonna cost, and then we'll have to put it out for bids.
I've had a number of calls on
Right.
it, so I'll tell him it's in the works.
It is, he's gonna be here Thursday.
That's
And
all.
he did call Marie.
All right, with that, you want to move into the Seminole City Council executive session first?
Let's, yes, and then we can reconvene.
I move we go into executive session.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed?